Everyone uses drugs, whether it's legal or illegal. It could be anything such as your cup of coffee in the morning, or something in between in some states that's legalized, such as marijuana, or even something hardcore, more of like cocaine. In the old times, thousands of years ago, drug usage was accepted. It was seen as a fix all remedy that would give you energy and keep you going and fix that cold. However, around the turn of the 20th century, government officials started realizing that drugs are not the good go to fix it all remedy as they were once advertised or just socially known, such as the Indians back in 1499. So in 1906, the Pure Food and Drug Act came about. This was to attempt to address those addictions that they were seeing. And not only that, it required companies to disclose dangerous ingredients, such as if you were using alcohol in your remedy, or even cocaine. The 1914 Harrison Act, the government attempts to get involved, but they really don't. It was kind of more of they see the issue, but they didn't necessarily know how to address it yet. However, in the 1938 Drug, Food, and Cosmetic Act, that's when the government takes a step even further and they start requiring prescriptions, especially for narcotics, which up to that point, you could self-diagnose yourself, walk into a pharmacy and say, hey, I've got this going on, I need this, and they would just give it to you. Well, this put a stop to that. You had to have a prescription prescribed by a doctor to get that narcotic. The Durham-Humphrey Amendment was the biggest change so far to drug usage. First off, it set the guidelines for what the FDA still uses today as far as classifying something as a prescription medication. It had to be habit forming, not safe for self-medication because of the toxicity of the ingredients within the medication, or a new compound that has not been shown to be completely safe yet. So pretty much in the trial run. If it met one of those three qualifying, then it was listed as a prescription. If not, then it would be listed as non-prescription and be available for sale over the counter. So from there, you have the thalidomide epidemic, in which you had the 17 births from with the babies being born with the pocomilia, the flipper arms and legs, and from there, the government just really started intensifying on the laws, such as the 1970 Comprehensive Drug Abuse Prevention and Control Act. With this, we start seeing our schedules. So, such as your Schedule 1, which is not approved for medical usage whatsoever. It's going to be highly potent. It's going to be addicting. The abuse rate is going to be high. All the way down to a Schedule 5, which is going to be your typical over-the-counter medication. From there, our government just continues to move forward in the war on drugs, all the way from Nixon, who really stepped in trying to make some changes, to Ronald Reagan, especially his wife, Nancy Reagan. She played a big part by creating the slogan, "Just Say No." And from this is where we get our DARE program and our Red Ribbon Week, which is our zero tolerance to drugs. Now, currently, our nation spends $47 billion in preventing drug usage. Now, if drugs were legalized, kind of like marijuana is getting there, and if they were taxed like tobacco and alcohol, we would be bringing in $58 billion, which at first sounds like a great deal. I mean, that's $58 billion back into our government's pockets. However, with that being said, in 2017 alone, 72,000 people died from accidental overdose. That's not including the people that were admitted and survived the overdose. However, which 58,220 deaths resulted from the Vietnam War. In 2017 alone, we had more people die from an accidental drug overdose than we did a war. In 2017, more on a note of us as college students, in 2017, over 200,000 college students received a drug conviction, whether it was being under the influence of a controlled substance or even just being in possession of it. And because of that, they lost their financial aid. So for those college students that are lucky to have that financial aid, to be paid to go to school, they lost it, whether it was a one-time incident or even a weekend thing where they're abusing every weekend.